And for those that are complaining, if you're not going to take a step and try and fix the damn problem yourself, sit down and be quiet, okay? If you don't want to show up to the staff meetings and voice your complaints, but you rather sit at the nurse's station or sit at the kitchen table of the fire station or sit in your ambulance and complain to whoever's around you that things aren't changing, if you're not up there actively trying to change things, I don't want to hear it from you. Hot take, but if you're not willing to put in the effort, then stop complaining. Or hey, do us all a favor, go find a different job. Sorry, not sorry.
The views and opinions expressed in Heartbeat Debrief are solely those of the host and guests. They do not represent the views of any employer or organization. This podcast is for educational, mentorship, and guidance purposes only. If protocols or policies are discussed, always follow your local or state organizational policies and procedures, regulatory guidelines, and scope of practice.
Hey everybody, Devin here with the Heartbeat Debrief, and welcome back. For those of you that are new here, this is the space for the things that don't make it into our charts, the doubts, the dark humor, and the weights that we carry with us long after our shift is over. Today, I want to kind of talk about that feeling that you get when you kind of just feel like you can't keep going in this line of work, okay? When you just feel like quitting. And recently, I've kind of had this feeling, but when I go to work, I'm reminded why I keep coming back. But I want to start off by kind of talking about something that happened the other day, a conversation that was had, and then a staff meeting that occurred. And they both revolved around lack of mutual respect in the workplace. And I bring that up because when you have a lack of mutual respect, be it between coworkers, providers, patients, family members, when there's that lack of mutual respect, it makes it a really difficult place to come to work and enjoy. And this is going to sound really, petty or whatever you want to call it, but for me, one of the biggest points of contention and lack of mutual respect is the staff break room. I don't care where you work, how long you've been in healthcare, but I guarantee you have probably witnessed this. You come into work for your shift and you see that the break room is an absolute train wreck. There's food left out from the shift before, be it day shift or night shift, both equally guilty. There's scrubs laying around that couldn't have made it to the soiled utility. Nope, that's too far of a walk. And then there's just shit strewn all over the break room. Like no one gives a rat's ass, okay? You are automatically put into a foul mood because you walk in and the first thing you see is an unkept break room, a place that is supposed to be for staff to go decompress, take their breaks, eat their lunch, and no one can take care of it. There's no mutual respect for that shared space. And that just irks the ever-living crap out of me, and it makes me feel like I don't want to work there. The microwave, absolutely atrocious. The fridge, somebody spills their coffee or milk or whatever, and it just drips down the side panel. They can't be bothered to clean it up. Are you kidding me? You are an ICU nurse. Like, how do you go about your day and leave the break room an absolute trash pile? Blows my ever-loving mind. So there's lack of mutual respect, number one. But on the flip side, I will say there is a group of individuals who do take pride in the shared workspace, and they bust their ass to make sure that these shared workspaces are cleaned and they are taken care of. But that's not fair to them. Okay, they shouldn't have to come into work and clean up after their coworkers. That goes for the break room, that goes for the patient's room, the beds, the linens. Like, just pick up after yourself. Have some respect for the shared space that your coworkers and the patients and the families are sharing. Okay. People should be able to come into work and enjoy those shared spaces. Okay. You, as the coworker, you, as the person, need to clean up after yourself. But I digress. The second one, we had a conversation at work the other night that transitioned into the staff meeting. And it was a lack of mutual respect between staff, be it nurse to nurse, pharmacist to nurse, pharmacist to provider, provider to provider, provider to nurse, across the board, a lack of mutual respect. Okay. But with that also came a lack of wanting to teach. And this lack of wanting to teach is a big thing, especially for me as a preceptor, as an educator, as an advocate for better education in our career fields. If you don't want to be a preceptor, say something. Okay. Tell whoever it is that is scheduling you to students or scheduling you new hires, tell them, be like, I don't want to teach anymore, or I need a break, whatever it is. Because when you come to work and you start moaning about your assignment, about staffing, about the lack of supplies, things that everybody already knows, okay? But you're moaning to your student, your new hire, whoever it is that you are precepting, you are putting a foul taste in their mouth about the unit, about the place that they work, about the place that they are so excited to be at. You are part of the problem. Stop teaching. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. And then in addition to that, if you have somebody that is coming to you asking questions because they may feel comfortable coming to you, they may not feel comfortable going to somebody else because maybe that person doesn't like to teach, so they're not going to go to them. Hope to God that person's not in a leadership position, because then we got bigger problems. But if you are somebody that somebody is going to and asking questions, welcome those questions. Tell them, hey, thanks for coming to me and asking me this. I appreciate that. I would rather you come to me and ask instead of just trying to figure it out and screwing it up and harming a patient, giving the wrong med, giving the wrong dose, whatever it is. Okay. We have so many people in our career fields. I don't care where you are, whether you're in the emergency department, whether you're in the ambulance, whether you're in the ICU. I have seen it from top to bottom, from left to right, wherever you are. There are people who someone will come to them with a question and they will look them dead in the face like they are the most stupidest person on the planet, and then give them an answer like they're the dumbest person. That right there is fostering a culture that is going to create bad providers and force people to make errors. Okay. If you are this person who looks at people like they're stupid when they come to you and ask questions, judges them for asking a question, you need to stop practicing medicine. Okay. I don't care that you don't work at a teaching hospital. I don't. We work in a career field that is ever evolving. Okay. New medical procedures come out every single day, new medical practices. We should practice evidence-based medicine. Okay. Evidence changes. So therefore, our practice changes. Guess what? It's called practicing medicine for a reason. So if you don't work at a teaching hospital and you don't want to teach, get the out of healthcare. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. And if you do work at a teaching hospital and you have a shitty attitude about teaching, find another job. For the love of God, leave the bedside and go find another healthcare related job, because by you not fostering a welcoming environment for these people to come and ask questions, you're going to kill somebody. Okay. And we don't need that. I'd rather be short staffed any day of the week than work with somebody who is crabby, doesn't want to teach, gets irritated when people ask questions, and judges people for asking the questions. So do us all a favor and get out of healthcare. Now, I may seem a little fired up about that, and that's because I am. Because I have seen it time after time after time. And I'm tired of new providers burning out so quickly because they're crappy preceptors or they're judged by providers for asking the why behind we're doing something or why we're giving this medication or why we're doing this on this patient versus this patient. They're the same diagnoses, but we're doing two completely different treatments. And the practitioner or the clinician at the bedside just wants to know why. And people get irritated with them. Like, do you not remember when you started in this job 20, 30 years ago? Hello, you were also probably not educated and you had lots of questions. So remember where you came from. Teach them, do them a favor. They are going to be the ones taking care of you, your children, your grandchildren in the next 10, 15 years when you retire. We already have a healthcare shortage. You are not helping by discouraging these clinicians from asking questions and learning. So yes, I am fired up about this because it adds to the I want to quit. So how do you fight that feeling of wanting to quit when everyone that you work with also wants to quit and they don't want to teach? They don't want to take the time to improve your skills or improve your knowledge so that you can take the best possible care of these patients. How do you fight that? How do you fight that? For me, I think that it's a couple of things. It's seeing the medicine that you do on a daily basis and seeing the outcomes of that medicine. Yes, there are the bad outcomes. Doesn't matter where you are, there are bad outcomes. But then there's so many more positive outcomes. And you look and you think, like, wow, we did that. Like, for me, I love working in the NICU. It is, there are days where it is very slow, very mundane, very monotonous. And I'm like, dear God, why do I keep coming back? And then there are days when I get my ass handed to me by a 23 weeker. You leave at the end of your shift and you're just like, wow, that was tough. And then you do it again for a couple in a row. And then maybe you don't have that kid back the next week or the week after. And maybe it's 3 weeks until you have them again. And now it's a 26, 27 weeker. And you're like, holy crap, you're a completely different baby. And then they go to the graduate NICU and then they go home and you're like, holy cow, you are going home on 20 cc's of low flow oxygen. And you were on death's doorstep 16 weeks ago. That right there, that is how you keep going when you feel like quitting. Another great example is on the stroke unit. We change lives on the stroke unit every single day. And I don't think anything is better than being able to roll up to somebody's house, put them in the scanner, and give TNK in their driveway and on the way to the hospital, see their symptoms completely resolved. They go from an NIH of 22 to an NIH of 2 in a matter of 15, 20 minutes. And they're talking to you, they're moving, and they're like, what happened? And I'm like, you had a stroke and we fixed you. And you see it right before your eyes and you're like, this innovative medicine is my why. These patient outcomes are my why. Okay, that is how you keep going when you feel like quitting. You have to remember your why. And I've talked about it in a numerous amount of episodes. I think protecting your spark, finding your why, however you want to phrase that, right? But if you forget your why or if you don't protect your spark, then you're going to fall and you're going to suffer. Your patients are going to suffer. Your coworkers are going to suffer. And that's the unfortunate thing. And in order to, I don't know, help offset that, you have to have work-life balance. And we've talked about that in another episode. Is You have to do your best to not bring your work home with you. You have to find boundaries, and then you have to find things that bring excitement to you. Okay. Things that refill your cup so you can go to work with a full cup. The gym, anything for me, outdoors, going camping. I've gone camping the last 2 weekends. It's been beautiful weather. Trips, going on trips, whether it be out of the state, out of the country, with friends, whatever. Okay. Doing things that make you happy. Okay. That will refill your cup. When you go to work, you're going to be like, yeah, today sucks. Staffing is terrible, but it's okay. I'm going to have a good day. I've got a good assignment. We're going to do great things. So that's a couple of things that you can do, a couple of things that, I don't know, to help ease that feeling of when you want to quit. But, there's also like the real side that sometimes those things aren't enough at all. Okay. Because, like I said before, this work is not manageable all the time. It's really heavy. We take a lot of stuff home with us. Okay. And you can do all of the right things. You can take your breaks. You can go on vacation. You can use your PTO. You can set those boundaries. But if you're still coming to work with that, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Um, that's okay. We all have those days. Because this, like I said, this job isn't supposed to be manageable 24/7. Um, so how do you manage that? What do you do when you still feel that way? For me, you stop asking, how can I fix the system? Right? I am one singular healthcare provider. I can't fix this system. It's broken. And I think we all know that. But you have to ask yourself, how do I make it through the next 12 hours? Yep. Okay, how do I make it through the next hour? Especially if it's a crappy shift, you're like, how do I get through the next 30 minutes of this train wreck of a patient that I have? Okay. You know, if you're in that survival mode of the next hour, the next couple, 30 minutes, that's not sustainable for the next 15, 20 years in this career. It's not going to work. Sorry, friends. Um, but you can make it to the end of the day. Okay. And then tomorrow you can come back and you can do it again. So breaking it down into smaller segments of time. Okay. What can I do in the next 12 hours? What can I focus on for the next 12 hours to make it through this shift? Um, Remember, you don't have to fix the system. Just have to contribute to bettering the system. Okay. Maybe it's also hanging out with people that are not burnt out and cynical as everyone else. I know we're all terrible with the dark humor and, that cynicalness of working in healthcare, but we have to be better. We really do. And so, finding people to eat lunch with that maybe you don't eat lunch with on a regular basis, or going out to breakfast or to dinner after work and just decompressing with people that you don't normally do that with. Change of scenery, okay? Change of people, and be like, man, today sucked. But then talk about the good things that you guys did. Be like, hey, man, that IV that you put in that nobody else could get, good on you. Okay. Or, hey, good recognition on that early sepsis. Like, you caught that. We got the antibiotics started. Kudos to you. Hype them up. Okay. Maybe that's out of your ordinary, but I promise you that kudos and that hype up will go a lot further than bringing the unit down, talking shit on whatever it is. Okay. That creates negativity, and negativity has no place in our line of work. Everyone's tired. Everyone's burnt out. Okay. Have to have some positivity around here. Now, if you've done these things and you're still struggling with I feel like I need to quit my job. All right. Well, let's talk about it. And it's important to talk about this because keep going is not always the answer. Okay. Maybe it's not going to get better. Okay. Maybe you do truly need to quit. Maybe you do need some peace. Maybe you need a sabbatical. Maybe you have got to get away from the bedside. Okay. You have to be able to say to yourself, this job is killing me and I need to leave. But you have to be able to recognize those things. Okay. You have to be able to recognize those two things. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't make you a quitter. Okay. It makes you an honest provider who recognizes that they cannot do this anymore. Okay. Burnout affects all of us in different ways. Even if you set your boundaries, it still affects us. But if that feeling of quitting is outweighing that feeling of belonging and that feeling of excitement, even with all the boundaries that you've set and all the vacations that you've taken, you got to go. You don't have to leave the bedside, but maybe you need to find a different area to practice in. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. If you do leave the bedside, there are tons of places to go, right? You can love healthcare and work in education, informatics, case management, transport, leadership, policy making. The skills that you have learned in this job, I promise you, will transfer to any job. Any job. And maybe that job doesn't cost you your mental health every day. Maybe it doesn't make you go to work and just complain up and down to anybody that will listen to you. Maybe it'll be helpful. Okay. So if you're sitting here asking yourself, or thinking to yourself rather, that I don't know if I can keep doing this, you should ask yourself a couple of questions. Okay. And the first question that you should ask is this about the job or is this about healthcare as a whole? Okay. Insert specific clinical role: nursing, paramedic, firefighter, rad tech, whatever. If it's about this job, then maybe you should leave. If it's about healthcare and your specific clinical job as a whole, that's going to be a lot harder to change. Okay. Then maybe you should leave healthcare altogether. But it's a different topic for a different day. Next question is, if I changed units or changed hospitals or changed roles, would I still want to do this? Okay, so for me, if I came to work every day saying, I can't do this anymore, and it's this job, it's working in the NICU. So then I think, okay, if I can't work here anymore, it's this job. So if I change units, if I go to the PICU, or if I change hospitals and go work for a different large hospital system, would I still want to do this? Okay, would I still want to be in healthcare? And then the last question that I think you should probably ask yourself is that when I picture myself a year from now, do I see myself here or do I see myself somewhere else? Oftentimes, you already know the answer to that question when you're asking yourself these questions. Okay. And if you're asking yourself these questions, the answer is probably no, you don't see yourself here in a year. And that's okay. That is more than okay. You have the self realization that you aren't happy here and that you need to go somewhere else. But that's hard. That's really, really hard because you're like, man, I love this patient population. I love the medicine that we do. But I'm just so tired and I can't work on this unit anymore. And I say that's okay because you have to remember that your goal, call it a goal, is not to like tough it out until you just completely, absolutely fall apart. No. Okay. The goal is to find a version of this work that we do that lets you stay here as long as possible without losing yourself. And I think that's really important to remember is you joined healthcare to do good and take care of people. And if it looks different now than where you saw yourself 5, 10, 15 years ago, that's okay. You can leave the thing that you started doing for something else. that still brings you joy, that still keeps you in healthcare. Okay. You don't have to stay in one place for 35, 40 years if it's going to mean that you're absolutely miserable coming to work. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for anybody around you. Okay. So I know I spent a good portion of this probably ranting and raving, because I'm fired up. Um, I'm tired of seeing people leave the bedside because they're treated unfairly, or people treat them like they're stupid, or they leave because they don't feel like the place that they work is fostering a place of mutual respect, um, basic human decency. So I'm fired up, and I hope that you get fired up about things like this, because there has to be a change in our culture. I know people are tired. I know people are tired. Uh, but the way that you have people acting who have been in this job for 20, 30, 40 years is just absolutely ridiculous to me. And we don't need people like that in our career field anymore. We need people who want to be here. We need people who want to teach. We need people who are giving 100% every day, or trying to give 100% and not coming to work bitching and moaning about every single little thing. Okay. If you can only come to work and give 70%, as long as you're doing it with a good attitude and you're giving your damnedest effort, asking for help because maybe you can't give anymore, that's fine. I'm not asking you to give 125% and join a policy committee or your unit council or whatever it is that your unit or your place of work has. Okay. I'm not asking you to go above and beyond. I'm just asking you to give the best possible care that you can without complaining. And for those that are complaining, if you're not going to take a step and try and fix the damn problem yourself, sit down and be quiet. Okay. If you don't want to show up to the staff meetings and voice your complaints, but you rather sit at the nurse's station, or sit at the kitchen table of the fire station, or sit in your ambulance and complain to whoever's around you that things aren't changing, if you're not up there actively trying to change things, I don't want to hear it from you. Hot take. But if you're not willing to put in the effort, then stop complaining. Or hey, do us all a favor, go find a different job. Sorry, not sorry. But what I want you to take away from this episode, okay, is that your why matters. Once again, your why matters from a couple episodes ago. It is allowed to be small. It is allowed to be one singular patient, one shift, one win at a time. You find your why and you hold on to that. And you don't let anybody take that away from you. Okay. Your boundaries also matter. Okay. Take your breaks, take your lunch, take your PTO, say no to extra shifts. Okay. Set those boundaries, set the thing that is going to protect your why. Okay. Refill your cup however you can, whatever that looks like for you. Okay. Try to come to work with a full cup. It's 3/4 of a cup. Half a cup, we're teetering on the edge of probably not going to function that great. Anything less than a half cup, you're probably not going to be a pleasant person to work with. Okay. Your honesty matters. Okay. If you recognize that you are done in this job, then you're done. That's okay. Okay. Like I said, it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that you recognize that you can't do this anymore because your why is gone. Simple as that. When you quit, nobody needs an explanation. Nobody deserves an explanation from you if you quit your job. Okay. That is you. That is your reason and your reason alone. And then lastly is your voice. Okay. Your voice matters. And so I'm urging those in a leadership position, whether it be preceptors, FTOs, charge nurses, house supervisors, managers, directors, officers, whoever is a leader in your line of work, I want you to be the person who welcomes questions. Okay. Be the person who says, I remember what it was like 10 years ago when I started. I was scared out of my pants and I had so many questions. Let me help you. Okay, be that person. Be the person that people want to go to. Okay, be the person that fights off all the negativity and welcomes the positive learning environment. And if you are a person in those positions and you find yourself fostering negativity or fostering an unwelcoming environment, I urge you to take a step back and either step down from teaching or take a break from teaching or take a deep look inside and ask yourself if maybe you should find a different job. Yes, you've been on the unit for 25 years, but maybe it's time to go somewhere else because your why is gone. I don't know. It's just me. I'm one person with a lot of opinions. You don't have to like them. So I think that's probably enough for today. I think you've probably heard me rant and rave a little more than my usual episodes. So I hope you take away, those 4 things: your why, your boundaries, your honesty, and your voice. I hope you take those with you. But with those, I have a challenge for you, each and every one of you. And it goes along with those 4 things. And it's going to be writing down your why in one sentence, not a paragraph, not a paper, just a singular sentence. I do this because. End sentence. Write it down. Okay. And then put that somewhere. Put it in your daily planner, put it in your phone, put it, attach it to your mirror so you look at it every day. I don't know. Okay. Just write down your why. Your second challenge is identify one thing at your job that is actively draining everything from you. Okay. And then on the flip side, find one thing at your job that's actively refilling your cup. Identify those 2 things. And the last thing is I want you to make one small change this week to protect your spark or to protect your energy or to protect your why, however you want to phrase it, okay? Make one change. Okay, it can be as simple as I will take a full break no matter what, or I will step off the floor for my 15 minutes, the full 15 minutes. Or here's a good one. I will not vent to my student or new hire about current unit problems. Okay, they don't need that negativity. They either haven't even started in this job or they are brand new and they're very excited. They don't need that. Okay. Find one thing that you will change this week. If you feel like sharing your why or sharing the thing that is draining you or refilling your cup, or if you want to share your thing that you're going to change this week, share it with me if you want to. You don't have to, but tag me, send me a DM, leave a comment. I would really like to know how you all are feeling. Okay, things that you want, things that are draining you, things that you are going to change. I genuinely care. I genuinely want to know, and I think this community cares, and this community can help each other. Okay, and if somebody else hears your reason, they may think that, hey, you know what? I feel the same exact way. Okay, that's why this podcast exists, friends, is so that we as a community can come together and help each other. So that's it for today. That's all I got. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. And just remember that it's okay to feel like quitting. It's okay to feel this way, okay? But it's not okay to let the system convince you that your feelings aren't valid. Okay? Protect your spark. Remember your why. Take care of your patients. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next one.